Russia has launched another massive combined strike on Ukrainian territory. There are casualties. Officials of Russia's border region promise Putin not to give up.
For us, air defense has become such a norm of life.
I'm Albina Piderniak, who will analyze the news of Ukraine and the world together. The Russians launched a massive combined strike on the territory of Ukraine. Russia struck from Kharkiv and Sumy regions to Lviv and Bukovina. It launched 26 cruise missiles and 597 drones. More than half of them were Shaheeds. Over 20 missiles and most of the attack drones were neutralized.
Unfortunately, there were hits on civilian infrastructure, including residential buildings. As of now, we know of 2 dead people in Chernivtsi. My condolences to the relatives and friends. About 20 more people were injured as a result of the shelling. People are receiving all the necessary assistance. The pace of Russia's airstrikes requires quick decisions, and it can be reduced by sanctions now. Strong secondary sanctions are needed against all those who help the Russians to produce drones and make money from oil. We need more air defense and investments in interceptor drones, which are already showing good results. The war can only be stopped by force. We expect from our partners not just signals, but actions that will save lives.
Rescuers showed the consequences of the Russian attack on the city of Lutsk, in particular the elimination of a fire in one of the city's buildings.
Значить, береш Олега.
Chernivtsi region. At night, the enemy struck the city of Chernivtsi and its surroundings. On July 12, as a result of the enemy attack on the city, fires broke out simultaneously at 3 addresses. All fires were eliminated by rescues. Administrative buildings, residential buildings, 2 non-function buildings and cars were damaged. In the residential sector, rescues evacuated residents of buildings, provided first aid to the injured and handed them over to doctors for further hospitalization. Unfortunately, 2 people died, 4 were seriously injured, 10 were slightly injured. In the Chernivtsi district, a residential building and a car were damaged. A headquarters was deployed at the scene to eliminate the consequences of the attack. Psychologists from the State Emergency Service are working on the scene. A day of mourning has been declared in Chernivtsi for the victims. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine and Rutte reacted to another massive attack by the Russian Federation on our country. According to him, the Russian occupiers continue their terror, launching hundreds of drones and missiles, destroying residential areas, killing and maiming civilians.
Russia continues to escalate its terror, launching another barrage of hundreds of drones and missiles, damaging residential areas, killing and injuring civilians. Western cities of Chernivtsi, Lviv, and Lutsk suffered a particularly horrible attack. Other regions were also hit. The scale of Russia's daily terror against civilians demonstrates the urgency of depriving Moscow of its oil revenues, which it turns into war crimes. Russia's war machine produces hundreds of means of terror per day. Its scale poses a threat not only to Ukraine, but to the entire transatlantic community. It is in our partners' best interests to hit this factory of terror as soon as possible with new strong sanctions, the 18th EU package and the Graham-Blumenthal bill. Defund Putin's death factory now.
Finnish President Alexander Stubb called Putin a strategic fool and military failure and suggested that he would not check the operation of Article 5 of the NATO treaty, which declares an attack on any member of the alliance an attack on all. Stubb noted that the war with our country is the biggest tactical and strategic mistake in modern history. Despite the situation, Russia doesn't admit its mistakes and will continue arming itself in the coming years.
I would argue that this is the biggest tactical and strategic mistake in modern history because he wanted to appease Ukraine and it would become a member of the European Union and eventually NATO. He sought to dismantle NATO, but he simply doubled the border with NATO through Finland. He sought to destroy the transatlantic partnership, but now together we will increase our defense spending to 5% of GDP within 10 years. He sought to destroy the EU, but I have never seen the EU more united. So Putin has failed by all accounts. You see, this year he advanced 0.25% of Ukrainian land, which resulted in 167 dead soldiers per kilometer. This is quite a high price. The base scenario is very simple. During the next 5 to 10 years, two things will be relevant for Russia. First, it will not return to peaceful liberal democracy, and second, it will continue to build up military power.
In response to a request from Radio Svoboda, spokesman Alison Hart said that NATO continues to work to provide support to Ukraine. The day before, US President Donald Trump announced the achievement of an important agreement under which NATO countries will have the right to purchase American weapons for supply to the Ukrainian army. The American president said, "We are sending weapons to NATO, and NATO will then transfer these weapons and pay for them."
Allies continue to work to provide Ukraine with the support it needs to defend itself against Russian aggression. This includes urgent efforts to procure key supplies from the United States, including air defenses and ammunition.
Putin seems to be immune to the loud threats of US President Donald Trump and plans to continue the war in Ukraine until his goals are finally achieved. As Le Monde editor Sylvia Kaufman writes in an article for the Financial Times, Trump is now forced to contemplate the prospect of a protracted conflict as Putin is determined to achieve his ultimate goal of subjugating Ukraine at any cost, and the Ukrainians, for their part, demonstrate an unwavering determination to resist Russia.
Twice in the past 2 weeks, in lengthy phone calls with Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron, the Russian leader has made it clear that any solution must be aimed at addressing what he calls the root causes of the conflict. In his opinion, this would mean returning NATO's borders to the borders of 1997 and depriving Ukraine of any form of sovereignty. That is the spirit of compromise. The way the Russian government, while seizing territory in the east, is methodically destroying any signs of Ukraine's national identity and cultural heritage is a testament to the depth of Putin's commitment to denying Ukraine's existence as a nation. Many in Europe, caught up in this controversy, suspect that Trump may lose interest in Ukraine and shift to more personal issues, as he did with North Korea in his first term. Then the Europeans' duty will be to help Ukraine repel the Russian aggressor on its own. Ukraine's defeat is also unacceptable for them.
The governor of the Belgorod region, Gladkov, presented Putin with the painting "Belgorod doesn't surrender." I would like to remind you that at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russia propagandists were talking on almost every broadcast that they would take Kyiv in 3 days. The above-mentioned inscription, which is painted directly on the metal cover of the S-40 missile, is currently relevant.
For us, air defense has become such a norm of life. And when you read books about the Great Patriotic War, a lot of books, songs, paintings were written. Here is the war. It penetrates so strongly into all corners and creates some kind of hidden potential. And we have severe trials for the residents of the borderland. One of the girls, an artist, began to paint these pictures on the fragments of the S-400. It's the case, it's the lid, that's absolutely right. These are rockets coming out, so they fall off. And so it has become, probably, such a symbol. On the one hand, what protects us, and on the other hand, hope. It is not like hope, confidence in imminent victory, it is in the soul of each of us. Therefore, to be honest, I wanted to convey it from the bottom of my heart.
Передайте автору большое спасибо. Да, хорошая картинка. Белгород не сдается.
Thank you very much.
In Russia, telling the true story is supposedly not forbidden. However, a Yakut comedian who told about the war between the Yakuts and Russians was found guilty of inciting enmity. And this comedian simply told the truth that few people know. I suggest you listen.
I used to like the history lesson because from the 5th grade the lesson was called History of the Ancient World in Russia, and you teach there how people became monkey people. Interesting, right? And then from the 7th grade to the 11th grade the lesson is called History of Russia. And I am from Yakutia. Yakutia is also like Russia. And I'm like that. Oh, it'll be about us here. It is only about Rus. Do we live in Rus? It seems to be Russia, right? If the lesson is called History of Russia, it should not only be about Russia, right? It is also about Chechnya, about Buryatia, about us, the Yakuts. It should be about everyone. But one guy told me what happened there in Yakutia, what to learn something there. Exactly. I don't know what happened there. Did anyone know that we had a war? Yakuts against Russians. The Russians were attack on us in order to expand the territory of Russia. We did not understand this. We told them we will not give you our diamond gold anyway. They are like, do you have diamond gold? I once told this joke in Russia and the audience shouted, don't whine. The Americans also attacked the Indians like this. Are they whining? I just wanted to tell you about the fact that the Americans attacked the Indians for some reason we all know, right? And even the Yakuts themselves did not know about Yakutia. But for some reason this story is not revealed, not told anywhere. It's just that when the Africans were found, they were made slaves. And when the Indians were found, they were almost all destroyed, right? And when the Russians found the Yakuts, they made Orthodox people out of us. I'm Sergeyevich now. Every day I go like this, it would be better if they killed us.
There is a feeling that the collapse of Russia and decolonization will come very soon, and you and I will become witnesses of this process. Thank you for watching this video. Take care of yourself and see you again.